Most business owners think that they will force people to buy by slapping a countdown timer on a sales page because it's urgency, but they're actually dead wrong. Fake urgency doesn't boost sales. It actually kills trust. It makes people really suspicious. And I've worked with a ton of companies who think that scarcity, fake scarcity and fake urgency just get people moving. But instead of actually moving the customers instead hesitate because people have inbuilt deception filters. It's just something that we've evolved with, right? And people end up bouncing and conversions end up dropping, and they think, well, I've got the urgency and the scarcity in place. What's actually going wrong? So today I'm going to show you how urgency really works. I'm going to break down the psychology. I'm going to share the exact framework I use called the 3 rules of real urgency and give you real case studies where urgency has drove really great business growth. So by the end of it, you'll know how to make waiting genuinely expensive for your customers without ever faking it. First of all, let's start with the science. As a person who works in behavioral science, who lives and breathes behavioral science, which is the science and psychology of decision making, I think that marketing has progressed to the point where everyone is talking about marketing, but there's so much misinformation out there that really we just need to go back to the truths of marketing, which is how do people make decisions and what causes them to basically make a decision as well. So back in 1979, there were a few different psychologists. One very famous one called Carmen, and they discovered something called loss aversion. Humans feel the pain of losing something about twice as strongly as the pleasure of gaining, and that is loss aversion. So think about it this way: losing $100 feels way worse than finding $100 feels good. So if you were going to walk down the street and you end up reaching your home and then you check your pockets and you realize you've lost $100, you would probably be really annoyed. You'd be thinking about it for weeks. You'd be like, I can't believe I lost $100, just, and it'd just be playing over on your mind again. But if you were to, play some sort of postcode lottery or win some sort of scratch card, right, of $100, you would be excited and you would be happy about it, but you'd probably be happy about it for a few days. You won't be thinking about it as much as you'd be thinking about the loss. And that's why urgency works. It reframes inaction as a loss. But here's where people get trapped. When urgency feels fake, people experience something else. They experience something called psychological reactance. This is psychological reactance theory. And that's when they feel their freedom has been taken away. So the second somebody feels their freedom has been taken away, they sense they're being cornered, they push back, they don't buy. So for instance, if you think about a teenager being punished for doing something wrong by the parents and they get grounded, I often see that teenagers actually rebel against that. They get really annoyed at the parents. They don't just really accept the punishment. They, in the head, even if they do accept the punishment, they kind of blame the parents as well. That psychological reactance, they push back at their freedoms being taken away. And it explains actually, without going too far into it, a lot of events in the world as well. Psychological reactance theory. But when you create fake urgency or fake scarcity, it triggers that psychological reactance. It's like fire alarms. If the alarm only rings in real emergencies, you trust it, right? But if it ends up going off every night when you're trying to sleep, you just stop listening to it. You just try your best to sleep. Urgency is exactly the same. If you've ever wondered why people ignore countdown timers on marketing websites or websites trying to, push certain products or certain services, is because the business has actually trained the customers not to believe you. So that's lesson number 1. The science behind it. Don't fake it, because you actually are triggering a different part of behavioral science, psychological reactance. Lesson number 2. I learned the effectiveness of urgency the hard way, basically. So years ago, I was selling a software product. Organically, it sold fine. I was talking about it in various different videos. I was messaging founders about it. And it was a really good product. People found it, they liked it, and they paid for it. And basically what the product was a software which would automate video pitches to companies. So I'd sell it to digital marketing agencies, and then they could pitch their customers with an automation where it was kind of like automated video pitching, right? Very cool stuff, even though I do say so myself. But basically, I thought this is selling so well organically, I might as well scale this with adverts. And so what I did was I poured loads of money into various advert campaigns. And people were clicking on the landing pages. I know how to do landing pages, by the way, but sales didn't happen at all. And I was so frustrated, I almost shut the whole thing down. I was basically like just breaking even. I would get like the odd sale every now and again. It was very frustrating because I knew the product was great and I knew people wanted it as well. But before I decided to shut it down, I was like, I'm just going to let everyone know that I'm going to pull the plug on this, right? In case they do want to end up getting this automation. And I sent out an email and changed it on my landing page as well, saying that this offer is closing in 7 days. And if you want it now, it's your last chance to buy it, because in 7 days time, I'm no longer selling this with adverts. And sales went crazy overnight. So the same product, the same ads, the only difference is I gave people a real, genuine deadline. And that's what I realized, that urgency wasn't about pressure, it was about clarity for people. People weren't confused anymore. They knew exactly the time they had to act and when the window would close. And then guess what? They acted because I was communicating with them honestly. Now, after 7 days, I did close that down. I closed that whole thing down. And we re-pitched things in slightly different ways. But the point of that, of telling you that little bit, is if I hadn't have closed it down there, guess what would have happened? People would have logged onto the website the next day after buying in that 7 day period, and they've been like, this is supposed to have ended by now, this offer. And he's still selling it. Well, I'm never buying from him again. So that's where trust would have been ruined. But to tell you the truth, that experience actually shaped how I use urgency in every campaign. And I follow a few different rules of real urgency now. So first of all, as I just said, fake deadlines don't work. Limited time only means nothing. A real deadline is really clear and specific. I'm gonna close at this time. This product ends at this time, Friday, 5 p.m. And that little detail changes everything because it's believable that way. It turns, I'll do it later in the customer's head into, I actually need to decide about this now because I know that I'm going to be busy tomorrow, I'm going to be busy the next day, and I'm looking at this right now, and I could save it as a bookmark or save it as a calendar reminder, but actually I need to buy this right now, or I need to at least come up with a way to remind myself not to miss out on this. And that's when people actually move and they actually make a decision on things. And I've used this in launches, in webinars, even emails now. And when the cutoff is real, sales double or triple in the final 24 hours. Here's why. Being specific actually adds to your credibility. As business owners, this is an ethical persuasion channel, an ethical behavioral science channel. But in business, as a business owner, or if you're an aspiring entrepreneur watching this channel, or even if you're an advanced entrepreneur, what you start to learn is that your credibility and how people perceive your brand, your company, your business is everything, right? And when you are specific about something, it actually creates credibility. And when people believe the deadline, they respect it essentially. So rule number 2, real capacity. You have to set real limits on things. So I once ran a campaign with a fixed number of seats. And when I said there's only 10 seats left, people basically stopped, deciding and and ahhing on the sidelines, and sales spiked because of that. But here's the key: those seats were really limited, and they'd seen me run this campaign before, and they know that once those seats are full, are taken, that basically it's going to be closed down and they won't be able to access it again. So think about like if you've ever went to a concert, you ever went to see a band, ever went to see an artist or anything like this. Concert tickets, they sell out because there are only so many available, and that scarcity drives demand, but only when it's true. But then on the other hand, if you think about an online digital concert where people are saying there's only 10 seats left, and customers detect that they're just trying to create fake scarcity there, it doesn't work, right? People won't want to actually buy into that because people can smell deception. Okay, so rule 3, price increases. The third rule is raising the price. So I've done launches where we increased the price by $200 after the first week, and fence sitters who were dragging their feet suddenly jumped in because waiting actually became expensive. So you can do this with early bird fees for your whatever you're trying to sell, your service, your product. I'm releasing a new product, or I'm having the next week of discounts or whatever. And then when people see that price gradually rise, they're like, oh, I should have took action yesterday, but the next best time to take action is actually today, right? Again, real scarcity, real urgency, building that trust. You're starting to see the pattern here, right? Airlines actually do this all the time. So they will say, book today, it's $150. Book next week, it's $350. And me and my partner, we were trying to book our honeymoon, right? And we were looking at various different places. We were really undecided about where we want to go. But one thing that we noticed that was getting us to make our decision was that when we were looking at hotels and when we were looking at flights, we'd find a place or that we'd like to either fly to or a hotel that we'd like to go and stay at. And we'd look a day later and it'd be like slightly more expensive. And so we were like, the more we wait, the actual more that we're going to pay for this. And then at some point, like, we're going to be getting ripped off by this hotel or by the plane company if we just keep waiting. So it had a cost to it as well. It's the rising cost of inaction. So this method works especially well for digital products, coaching, or memberships. No fake limits, just a transparent increase in price over time. Now, here are some mistakes that you want to avoid before you run off and start sprinkling urgency and scarcity everywhere in your campaign. And let me warn you about the 3 biggest mistakes businesses make. So number 1, fake countdown timers that reset. People might buy once, but you've destroyed the long-term trust. Think about my software product that I was selling. I closed it down at the moment I said I was going to close it down. I stuck to my word. And then I had repeat buyers and happy customers in the future. Number 2, claiming limited spots when there's no limit. If you're selling perhaps like a coaching program or something like that, you are absolutely fine to say, I only want 10 people in this Zoom call. I've done that. But the thing is, if you're saying there's only 10 people in the Zoom call, then the people who buy, they figure out that once they've joined the Zoom call or like the mastermind or whatever they're trying to join, the workshop, and there's 100 people in there, they're like, all right, we're not stupid. We'll never buy from you again because you're clearly just trying to manipulate us, right? So it's up to you to cap the capacity of something or the spaces of something, but stick to it as well, because people will figure it out, and when they do, they won't come back to you either. So number 3, misaligned discounts. So you've probably seen, when you're buying something, 20% off for new customers only. Sure, it drives sales really quickly, but it teaches your loyal customers to wait for next time. So urgency backfires if you reward the wrong behavior. A lot of times in life, it's kind of like about incentives. It's about punishment and reward. And so a lot of businesses make this mistake. Phone providers and internet providers make this mistake all the time. They will say things like, oh, sorry, Mr. Lally, I can't give you any discount. I'm going to charge you double the rate that a new customer, if you were to cancel your service and rejoin again today, that you would pay, even though you've been with us for 10 years. It's ridiculous. You reward the wrong behavior. You reward people leaving and getting into a price battle with other places. In reality, loyalty should be rewarded as well. So just remember that as well as using urgency and scarcity, we actually want to reward the right behavior as well. We don't want to teach people that, hey, we're going to reward you if you go and do something that we don't want you to do. Here's the bottom line. Urgency works because it makes waiting costly, going back to loss aversion, but it only works if it's real. Humans have inbuilt deception detectors. We have evolved over many, many years to detect deception. That's why we have things like the dark triad, where we look for people who are Machiavellian or narcissistic or high on psychopathy, right? We have inbuilt deception detectors in us as well to know when something's not right and we're getting affected. So if you follow the 3 rules, you set a real deadline, show real capacity, and raise your price over time, you'll be doing pretty well. And do that and you'll see your urgency turn into sales without losing any trust. So Urgency makes people act now, but urgency alone doesn't actually make people trust you. It certainly helps when you stick to it. The real trust builder is actually something called social proof, and it's a behavioral science principle. And if you're using it wrong, you could actually be losing more sales than you realize. So luckily for you, the next step for you is really simple. Just watch my video on social proof. I'll show you 5 ways to do it properly and one huge mistake to avoid that a lot of different businesses, a lot of different founders actually make. Click it now, it's on your screen, and I will see you over there. Take it easy, see you in the next one.